Story 1. Seek professional help. Go outside and take walks. Story 2. As a person with bipolar 2 disorder, I never fully recover. This is my experience, not anyone else's. I take medication, adjust my habits, change my diet completely, get out and about, and go to therapy. Medication and therapy help turn the extreme highs and very low lows into a calmer wave. Not too manic and not too depressed. It is important to notice triggers because they can increase anxiety and to learn how to manage them. Mindfulness is a big one. The condition never goes away completely, but you learn how to manage it. I also avoid alcohol completely. If you want to talk about a trigger, alcohol is a huge one. I never drank much and barely even finish my once-a-year beer. Story 3. This is generally a unique journey for each person, but all the suggestions here have worked for somebody. Some people fall into the lake and then walk around the edge of the water from time to time. Others repeatedly slip back into the water. I like to think depression is a condition you always have. It can be pushed into dormancy, but it can return. Story 4. Medication can help. However, I believe exercise is the best medicine for depression. Story 5. I have tried everything I could, and nothing works. It is still lingering in the background. Story 6. Avoid alcohol. Get enough sleep. Move your body even when you do not want to. Talk to a licensed medical professional. Pray. Start a gratitude journal. Even if the only thing you are grateful for today is your hands that allow you to write in the journal. Volunteer or help someone else. Ask for help. People cannot read your mind. If you need support, let others know. I am still working on this myself. Story 7. Engage in regular physical activity. Drink plenty of water. Take a daily multivitamin. And talk with interesting people. Story 8. I took an antidepressant for a couple of months, and one day I woke up and just felt okay. Story 9. It is not magic, but it helps me. Headphones. Audiobook. Long walk. If you come back after 2 hours of moving around outside and do not feel even a little better, then I am sorry. But hey, you got some exercise. Story 10. Real medical depression. Medication, mental health support, counseling, and therapy. Story 11. Volunteer somewhere. There is no single clear answer to this question, and actually getting out takes time and many things, but one thing that helps me immensely is volunteering. Right now, my volunteer role is at my local community radio station, but I have done many things in the past. It gives you 1. Something to do that you think is important to society. 2. A community of people who agree that this is important. 3. A tangible positive effect on the people around you. Story 12. For me, it was realizing that it was going to be okay, that what has happened cannot be changed, and that I can only control the future. That was easier said than done. It takes time, lifestyle changes, surrounding yourself with the right people, having support, and finding hobbies you enjoy. Over time, I realized I was the only one who could make myself happy. That may not be the solution for everyone, but it is my story. Story 13. Depression is a cluster of many different symptoms, and you cannot magically cure it with 1 or 2 things. I was diagnosed with major depression in high school, and now as an adult I consider myself fairly happy, mainly by keeping as busy as possible in a fun way when I can. The number 1 piece of advice I can give is, clean your space. Wipe, scrub, mop, sweep, and organize. Living in messy or dirty conditions is kryptonite to mental stability. I have a few friends whose places are routinely messy disasters or downright filthy, and I dislike visiting them. Letting things rot is not doing anyone any favors. It makes the situation worse. Start small. Clearing the sink is a good place to begin. It is a finite space, easily visually digestible, and totally doable in an hour or 2 at worst. If you need a stimulant, use something you tolerate, such as coffee, medication for attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, or energy drinks, and force yourself to scrub, stack, and organize until it is clean. Keep as much momentum as you can. Cleaning will not cure depression, but being tired and sad in a neat space is much less mentally taxing than being in a filthy space. Story 14. Ask yourself why all the time. act to fix what you can, and understand that life is actually very long. Story 15. I am 36 years old. From about age 26 to 32, I struggled with severe depression, anxiety, and panic attacks. I could not afford therapy and was living paycheck to paycheck. I tried everything: self-help books, various antidepressants, and exercise, but nothing helped. When I was 32, my father died and left me a small inheritance, which helped. Story 16. You don't need to have it all figured out. Some days, just getting out of bed is a win. Be patient. Be kind. Healing is not linear, but every step still counts. Story 17. There is no single way. Therapy, support from friends and family, and small daily habits helped me a lot. Story 18. My tip is to find a hobby you enjoy and try not to overthink things. After all, it's our first time living. Story 19. I had support and the freedom to cry on the shoulder of a safe person whenever I felt like it. Explored new hobbies or enjoyed the ones I already had. Placed sticky notes with positive quotes around my mirror. And learned to take care of myself by eating healthily and maintaining good hygiene. Story 20. I rarely get down anymore, but performing tasks to completion or to my satisfaction helped me. Clean your room even if you do not feel like it. When it is finished, your room is clean, orderly, and comfortable. You feel satisfied. Read a book and feel good when you close the back cover. Wash the car, the dog, or the sheets. Vacuum. Anything, really. Doing things reminds you that you have the power here, not your stressors. Story 21. Having someone to listen to you always helps. Don't dwell on things when you're feeling lonely. It can lead to much worse thoughts. Keep yourself occupied. Story 22. Have something to look forward to help you get out of the inevitable slump. It is not a cure, but it helps you stop feeling worthless for at least a little while. Story 23. I have bipolar disorder and borderline personality disorder, and I struggled with depression in the past. Running helped a lot. Story 24. Get outside, go for a walk, find community, and eat better. Story 25. Regular vigorous exercise and weightlifting provide many benefits. Story 26. Medications. Regular exercise does not have to be intense. Going for a walk is excellent. Eat reasonably healthy food. Get enough sleep. Shower regularly even if you have to force yourself to do so. Talk to people. Taking care of yourself every day can feel like a battle when you do not want to. Sometimes depression is situational and improves once the situation changes. Sometimes it is lifelong. Story 27. There are 3 key things to focus on. First, establish a schedule. Wake up at the same time each morning and go to bed at a similar time each night. Get a good night's sleep and do not nap during the day. Second, start an exercise program. This can be as simple as a daily 2 to 3 mile walk. As you progress, add weight training, increase your distance, or run if your knees can handle it. Third, address the mental side. Be positive. Accept what you can and cannot control. Do not judge or be hard on yourself. Retrain your brain to look for the bright side. When something goes wrong, look for the opportunity. When plans are canceled, consider what that time allows you to do. If you start with these 3 habits, you will be on your way. Story 28. Working out helped when I was unemployed for 15 months. It made me feel productive. Story 29. Avoid negative habits such as addiction to food, procrastination, and excessive gaming, and engage in positive activities such as exercise and socializing until your mind is healthy enough to make them routine. There is no shame in failing. Change starts today. If you fall, get right back up and ask for help if you need it. Take things one step at a time. Do not wait. Good luck. Story 30. Talk to someone, preferably a professional, in person. Story 31. Break out of habituated patterns by choosing intentional activities. If you spend hours playing games or scrolling, replace 1 hour with cooking a healthy meal, exercising, or talking with a friend you have not spoken to in a while. If something feels off, listen to yourself to identify it. Make deliberate disruptions to your routine that expand your world and promote good health. Story 32. Get proper sleep, eat clean, and get plenty of exercise. Story 33. In some ways, you do not get out of depression. You leave it behind. The experience of depression carries an emotional memory, and once you have had it, it never entirely goes away. It stays like a good or bad memory you feel in your bones. To get to that point, an environment that supports recovery from your current mental state is required. This involves changes in routine, adjustments in relationships, medical support, and in some cases medication as an aid. None of these things works on its own, and you must be open to the process taking time. Story 34. Do you mean in general or about me specifically? For me, it is like a rock I always know is there. Sometimes I am strong and do not even notice I am carrying it. Other days it is so heavy I do not think I can move, and I hate myself for not being able to shoulder it. How do I make the bad days become good ones? It is work. Get out of the headspace. Find something that keeps you from having those negative thoughts. If you must think, try to stay positive. Depression can make all the positive things feel inconsequential or unimportant, but you cannot believe that. You have to believe you can carry that rock. I rely on my family to be around me and help me get out of my head. They give me the strength to get up, shoulder that burden, and keep moving. Story 35. I did not have a severe depression, but I focused on doing what I love. I grew closer to my family and shared everything with them. I made new friends after changing jobs, and step by step I recovered. Takes time, but you have to really work on yourself. Story 36. That is the neat part. You do not. You can only manage it for life. Story 37. I faked being happy and forced myself to go out with friends. I have absolutely no idea how or why it worked, but I guess I just faked it until I made it. Story 38. Go to the gym and take a walk. Set small, attainable goals such as cleaning up the home, cooking a great meal, and looking for a job relevant to my degree. The last one has not worked. Laughing out loud. Story 39. Regular time in the sun and exercise are a must. Beyond that, therapy and psychiatric help are also very important if the source of the depression is something beyond simple lifestyle issues, such as being sedentary, not getting outside, lack of socializing, or alcohol and drug use, and so on. Journaling or some other structured form of reflection helps a lot too. I have also found that being creative helps. Take time to make something for your own sake, not to show it off or to impress others, but to enrich your life and build your own accomplishments. Story 40. Direct message me about my experience with transcranial magnetic stimulation for treatment-resistant depression. Story 41. In addition to the other advice listed, if something is contributing to your stress, try to stay away from it. For me, it was the current United States political climate. I had to unsubscribe from several Reddit communities that were posting depressing news multiple times per day. Story 42. Action helps. Make a to-do list. I write the next 5 things I need to do on a pad with a ballpoint pen, then do the first item whether I feel like it or not. I cross it out with a colored pencil and add a new task at the bottom. It is not perfect, but it helps. Also get professional help. Make selecting a doctor and making an appointment one of the items on your list. Story 43. I have wondered that my entire life. Getting up, moving around, and interacting with people has helped. Story 44. Professional help. Changes in your lifestyle. New job. But always put that first. Story 45. Medication. Get a referral to a psychiatrist, have them determine whether you need medication, and try it if they prescribe it. I have had depression for over a decade, and the only thing that has helped me significantly has been antidepressants. Your results may vary. Story 46. Go to therapy. Do not stop trying. Do not give in to the feeling of doing nothing. Eat healthier and exercise. Find joy in the simplicity of things as best you can. Everyone's journey is different. Just because you are not feeling better does not mean it is not working. Be kind and honest with yourself and with others about how you are feeling. Do not let those feelings bottle up. If you give up trying, it will get worse. This comes from my personal experience. Never give up. There is always a light in your mental health that you must keep lit. Story 47. That is an extremely complicated question and will vary greatly between people. Normally, depression is comorbid, But assuming you have only depression, the simplest answer is discipline. Having structure in your life does wonders for mental health. It becomes more complicated as additional factors are present. Story 48. Forcing yourself to shower. Getting enough vitamin D and sunlight exposure. Getting enough sleep. Spending free time not in bed, for example, in the living room, kitchen, or bathroom. Going out and putting yourself in a place far from the center of your depression. Traveling can help. Physical activity. Faking happiness. Retail therapy. Professional therapy. Story 49. 1. Recognizing my depression. Took me years to realize I wasn't just tired. 2. Get help. Step 2 is highly variable. For me, antidepressants worked wonders. When I realized I was depressed, I went to the doctor, had a conversation, and got a prescription. 2 days later, I felt like a new person. Some friends found routine more helpful. Getting up at the same time every day, meditating for a few minutes, and planning tasks so the day felt smaller and less stressful. Keep trying. Story 50. I found a few tricks that helped lift me out of depression, even if only briefly. 1. Anything physically active. For example, I don't particularly enjoy walking, but I can balance things well. Sometimes I put a broomstick on my foot and balance it for 10 minutes. Physical activity releases chemicals in the brain and body that produce joy. 2. Upbeat music. The brain releases dopamine when you hear a catchy tune, even if you do not consciously like it. Combine it with physical activity and it increases dopamine. 3. Vitamins and hydration. Sometimes our bodies lack what they need to feel good. I found I am often dehydrated because of coffee or energy drinks, and I do not have the best diet. Taking vitamins regularly and staying hydrated gives me more energy, making it easier to play music and do balance exercises. 4. Create. Producing something, anything, releases chemicals that give a feeling of accomplishment. I have baked bread, written poetry, made wooden name signs for family, planted and grown a flower, and completed puzzles. Even if only for an hour or a day, these activities can break through the depressed feeling. 5. Find the source. This is deeper than the rest. You might need professional help, but once I found and understood the source of my depression, learning how my brain produces dopamine became part of the solution. I have learned I will never be completely free of depression, but having tools like these to bring in some light has been helpful. Story 51. I finally grew into the woman I always wished I was. Medication and a little therapy helped too. Story 52. Avoid drugs, staying indoors, and anything that brings you down. Take regular walks outside. I took up photography while walking or hanging out in parks with my smartphone. Story 53. The only way out is through. Becoming more conscious that anything you think exists in a world only you see means you can potentially adjust that world by placing a different lens on your thoughts. The same mind that allows you to experience depression can also allow you to experience the opposite. It is not easy, but it is possible with real work. Story 54. 1. Exercise, even light activity. 2. Therapy. 3. Regular sleep. 4. Medication. Story 55. Please, original poster, talk to your doctor. There is a lot of misinformation in this thread from well-meaning people who self-diagnose and conflate low mood with clinical depression. Do not let anything stop you from seeing a proper medical professional. There is no shame in seeking help, and they will not put you on medication if it is not needed. You may need to try a few different medications until you find one that works for you, so set your expectations and stick with the plan. The usual approach includes medication, counseling, socialization, exercise, and productive engagement such as work or volunteering. It often works wonders, regardless of how impossible it sounds or how skeptical you may currently feel. Please reach out. Story 56. Quitting drinking. Ketamine therapy helped me immensely. Talk therapy, specifically brain spotting. Microdosing psilocybin also helped at times. Vitamins, yoga, sunlight, and a light therapy lamp, staying hydrated, and proper sleep. Story 57. One of the most effective things for me was getting out of the house and doing something for myself, such as getting a haircut, running errands, shopping, getting the car washed, or doing physical activity. Returning home in a better state than when I left is a major part of how I determine my self-worth, so I try to nurture that. Story 58. Do things. Be active. Volunteer. Give your brain things to think about so it does not keep looking inward. Story 59. I would seek medical help first. For me, life is too short. So what if bad things happen? They are out of our control. Story 60. You work your way out. Go to the gym. Meditate. Do something for someone else for no reason. Story 61. First, surrender to the Creator. This life is a divine play, and I accept that I don't know how things are going to play out, so I let the Creator take care of that. Second, go out into the woods or anywhere in nature. Spend time in the sun, move around, and work out. Third, reach out to friends. If you do not have friends to turn to, use ChatGPT or another AI chatbot as a therapist. Make small plans ahead of time so you have something to look forward to, and travel when you can. Finally, accept that everything is working out as it is intended. Story 62. My sister has severe depression, but she manages it by taking her medications, managing her diet, exercising regularly, and attending therapy. She is very candid that you must do these things and stay consistent. It is like a table with legs. Remove one and it becomes wobbly. Remove more and the table collapses. Story 63. Having dysthymia. I have no idea how to recover from depression. I am on medications. Talking with a therapist, going out, and doing activities are helpful. Story 64. Take a break from social media. Turn off the news. Eat something healthy. And get outdoors. Going for a cruise in an old car, taking a ride on a bike, and similar activities do wonders. Mainly take some time to disconnect and live like it is 1990 again. Story 65. I became depressed because I had toxic people in my life and dwelled on it. When I removed them, my mind became much clearer. Story 66. Outside of professional help, things that can help are simple. Taking a shower, changing bed sheets, doing a bit of cleaning, cooking a healthy meal, watching a fun movie you meant to see, taking a walk, working out, and being with friends, all the things that depression makes you desperately not want to do. Depression makes me want to wallow in filth alone in the dark. Lift no finger except to eat too much fatty, sugary food that is supposed to make me feel good but does not, put on something mind-numbing, drink far too much alcohol as often as I can stomach, wear the same clothes including underwear forever, and never brush my teeth. I end up punishing myself with everything that makes me feel worse. Or only better for a little while and then much worse afterward because it feels right. It feels deserved. It feels correct to be disgusted by myself and my living situation at every turn, to avoid inflicting myself on people I like, and to stay in low light so I cannot see how easy it would be to just put trash in a bag, yet instead be frequently reminded of how nasty my surroundings are. All that to say, I am intimately familiar with depression, and while basic things like removing some clutter, turning the lights on, and maintaining basic hygiene to alleviate the misery sound so fucking stupid and at times impossible, they have genuinely done me tremendous good in times of desperate need. Story 67. Someone once told me that making your bed in the morning is a very good first step. At first I thought they had no idea what they were talking about, but it does help. It helps you start your day and can prevent you from getting back in bed. Going on walks also helps. Get an iced coffee or a drink you enjoy, drive 15 to 30 minutes out, find a nice forest or path, and wander there for a while. Just know you are loved and you matter. There are people who care about you and want you to get better. Take baby steps at your own pace. You will eventually get better. Story 68. Consciously decide to change and work at it until being content becomes automatic. Read a book on cognitive behavioral therapy. Get professional help if needed. Never give up. Story 69. Upbeat, good vibe music. When I cannot get help, I leave. I play loud music if I can, or I use headphones. Story 70. Some people do not. My last visit to the treatment-resistant depression clinic ended with the staff saying they were out of ideas and offering a list of recommended therapists. After 30 years of therapy and 15 years of medication, I do not expect to recover. Before anyone suggests mushrooms or ketamine, I can only take medications I have an explicit prescription for, or I risk destroying my career. Story 71. A combination of antidepressant prescriptions, given after diagnosis by a doctor, and cognitive behavioral therapy with therapists as needed were used. Antidepressants leveled out the sadness, and committing to finding and consistently applying effective coping mechanisms through cognitive behavioral therapy laid the foundation for staying out of depression in the long term. Story 72. I drink. It's not for everyone, but with post-traumatic stress disorder and chronic depression, it helps me. Your mileage may vary. Story 73. Start by reviewing the Johns Hopkins studies on psilocybin and depression. I had extraordinary results after following their protocol to treat my severe depression. I did this about 15 years ago and it saved me. Since then, I have done it about once a year to be proactive. I am 66 years old and have been symptom-free since. I am not a doctor. I consulted my doctor about how to best wean off the selective serotonin reuptake inhibitor I was taking before undergoing the psychedelic experience. That was the hardest part. Many more studies have been published on psilocybin for depression since then, and more doctors understand its potential, so finding a physician willing to work with you should be easier now. As with anything, it is not for everyone. Therapeutic doses can be challenging, but the results can be worth it. My initial experience remains one of the most positive of my life and still stands out to me. Either way, you are on the right track by seeking solutions. All the best to you. Story 74. As many others have said, exercise is one of the best things, but it is unfortunately one of my least favorite activities, especially during a depressive episode. Fortunately, my wife holds me accountable and gets me moving even when I do not want to. I will not assume you have a romantic partner to rely on. If you do not, ask a friend or family member who enjoys exercising to invite you to join them. One of my other major joys is listening to music, so I usually put in an earbud and go for a hike. If you mean a clinical chemical imbalance in your brain, seek professional help. Story 75. Over 5 decades and I still have it. It is not going away for me. Story 76. Feel free to send me a direct message if you want some genuine advice. I see that you are not responding to any other messages, but I do not know if that is because they are all stereotypical responses or because you feel they are not the answer for you. I would be happy to try to help or just listen if that is what you need. Story 77. I have no good answer, studies, or wisdom, but remember this. Never give yourself up. Don't run away. Story 78. An unrelenting desire to stop feeling the way you do now can push you to make a change. For me, the first step was exercising and setting a clear goal for what I wanted to achieve. Story 79. I do not know if you ever get out of it. I have had it for more than 5 years. It has its highs and lows, but always seems to be there. I have learned not to let it be the lens through which I see the world. Story 80. With all these posts, you have to do it all, so start somewhere. Story 81. It is extremely difficult to find the right counselor, therapist, or psychiatrist, and this can make you even more depressed. Story 82. I avoid negative habits and focus on positive ones. When I have been in depressive slumps, I limit my screen time. I exercise, follow a healthy diet, and read. It will look different for everyone, but I think focusing on daily habits will make a difference. Story 83. Clinical depression is an illness you must wait out until the lights come back on. Medication, therapy, and self-care are important while you recover. Story 84. See a mental health professional for advice. Depression can be caused and maintained by many different factors that vary between individuals. For example, depression resulting from trauma and depression caused by chemical imbalances may require very different recovery strategies. Story 85. You learn to live with it, appreciate the better days, and know that the bad days will pass eventually. Story 86. I had severe depression for 2 to 3 years. I tried exercise, which provided temporary relief, as well as vitamins and herbal supplements without benefit. Finally, I used a selective serotonin reuptake inhibitor prescribed by my doctor, Zoloft. After my doctor increased the dosage, 2 years later my depression was reduced by about 98% and has remained gone. Story 87. Let's pretend that depression is a physical wound. Imagine a nasty old ulcer on your chest that has been there for years. Now it is infected and smelly, and it is producing pus. Gross. A doctor would not simply suture a dirty, open wound shut. First, the wound must be cleaned, wrapped, treated with antibiotics, and given time to heal so the root cause can be addressed. For depression, find a medication that works for you and helps you feel better. It may take 4 to 6 weeks to notice a change. Write down how you feel on day 1 and again at the end of 6 weeks so you can see the improvement. Once symptoms are managed, therapy, behavior modification, and increased self-awareness can help suture the wound. Story 88. I stopped eating carbohydrates. It sounds like a YouTube advertisement, but gaining control of my addiction to them is what made the difference. Story 89. Get 7 to 8 hours of sleep and go to bed early. Wake up and spend time in the sun. Work out. You can start small but make progress. Do something that makes you feel productive. I hope to see you on the other side of the tunnel soon. Take care. Story 90. You cannot. You can only learn to live with it. If it becomes too much, see a doctor or have a good cry and then move on. Story 91. I cannot open external links. Please paste the transcript/text here. Also confirm, by search and replace all acronyms. Do you want each acronym expanded into its full phrase? For example, AI, artificial intelligence. Once you paste the text and confirm the acronym rule, I will return only the cleaned, punctuation corrected, no links text optimized for Azure text-to-speech. Story 92. When you find the answer where money is not a factor, let me know. Story 93. It depends on the person. For me, I gained 2 things from it. First, religion. Finding your purpose, understanding why you were created, and being grateful to your Lord. Second, goals. Setting goals to achieve in this world, both in your career and academically. Story 94. Therapy and medications work together. Medications help stabilize you, and therapy helps establish a diagnosis and create a plan to address depression. The plan can include goal setting, frequent check-ins, cognitive restructuring, which involves questioning automatic negative thoughts, evaluating them logically, and replacing them with more realistic, balanced thoughts, eye movement desensitization and reprocessing, or many other evidence-based strategies proven to reduce symptoms of depression. Story 95. Besides what others have said, exercise, eat clean, avoid alcohol, seek therapy and medication when needed, and have a goal to work toward, whether work, study, or a hobby you enjoy. Start with small steps, even a few minutes a day or a few times a week, and give yourself time. Depression is not cured in just a few weeks or months. Story 96. Breathing exercises, physical fitness, conversation with close friends, and setting long-term goals. Story 97. They are not for everyone and should be used responsibly, but a night of psilocybin mushrooms helped me immensely. Story 98. Depression is like nausea. It is your body's way of telling you something is wrong. Maybe you lack connection, touch, or some other need that we, as social animals, require, and depression is your body's response to that. Many people with depression think something is wrong with them and then feel worse about themselves. You would not feel bad about yourself if you had scurvy. You would recognize that you were malnourished and eat a lemon to get the vitamin C your body needs. Of course, knowing what you need and being able to get it are not the same, and it can be very hard to obtain what you need while depressed. The book, The Joy of Living, was very useful to me. Meditation helped me connect with the present moment and bodily sensations and, over time, made death no longer something I wished for. Anything that helps your body will likely also help your depression, such as physical activity, healthy eating, and good sleep. Story 99. Medication, counseling, and time. Exercise can help to a certain degree. Story 100. Physical workout. It all starts there. Make a routine. Run. Lift anything. Story 101. Baby steps. Seek and accept help. Seek peers who understand what you are going through. Consider therapy and practice acceptance. Understand that depression hijacks your thoughts. Negative feelings and thoughts such as that will not help me anyway are part of the illness. Do not trust them. Get active. Depression encourages passivity. Story 102. Dig deep and introspect to understand what you are resisting. Find a way to stop resisting and align with your truth. Medication is a band-aid. Support helps, especially from people who understand. Counseling may help you gain understanding and clarity. I realized that when I felt down or depressed, I would stay there because it felt familiar and comfortable. Now I know I have the power to change things from within. Healing is not for the weak. Best wishes. Story 103. There are two main routes you can take. One is to seek professional help from a psychiatrist or psychologist. The other is inner work. Regular meditation, spending time in nature, finding peace and solitude, and surrounding yourself with positive friends and family. Inner work focuses on your inner world rather than the outside. We all have past wounds and traumas to heal, and a spiritual approach can help. Through consistent meditation, you can discover your true self, a quiet observer that notices thoughts and emotions without judgment. The ego is the mind with constant chatter and resists change, preferring familiar patterns. I recommend inner work over medication, but the best choice depends on the individual. Story 104. You have to remember that sometimes your brain is not wired to make you happy. From an evolutionary standpoint, this is a tactic our brain uses. It looks for problems and tries to solve them to keep you safe. Often when you feel overwhelmed, your brain is naturally looking for problems to solve. Going outside and spending time in nature can help. When you have a negative thought, catch it, challenge it, and change it. Identify the negative thought. Examine whether it is a plausible way of thinking or whether you are personalizing or catastrophizing, and then replace it with a more balanced thought. These are a few things you can try. I am here anytime. Message me if you need to talk. Story 105. What helped me get out of my depression was letting myself go through the motions and feel what I needed to feel before choosing to improve and climb out of that hole. I honestly believe this is the best way to recover from any kind of depression. To give context, my ex left me 3 times between April 2023 and April 2024. The final time in April 2024 was permanent. Each time she left, I fell into a deep depression. The first time I drank myself into a stupor, stopped bathing regularly, and avoided many responsibilities. In April 2023, when she first left, I had just learned my father had cancer, so it was unbelievably hard to pick myself up. I did not start to improve until a job interview in October or November of that year. I felt utterly alone and overwhelmed by depression. My health suffered too, from eczema on my foot to dental damage that I feared would be permanent but thankfully was not. My biggest regret is that I was not there for my father as much as I could have been. That role fell to my older brother, who was treated as the golden child and who took advantage of the situation. Now everyone views him as a role model while I am seen as a disappointment by the family. I know I am responsible for letting the depression hit me so hard, and that I could have done more to help myself. What made it harder was that each time my ex ghosted me, she eventually came back months later. It never took long before we were in the same cycle. A big argument, her ghosting me again, and then breadcrumbing me weeks or months later, as in the most recent breakup. Each departure left me feeling worse and caused me to act in ways I normally would not. The latest time is especially difficult because I still have trouble letting her go. I am afraid that if I do, she will return. Part of me still loves and cares about her. I know I should have moved on long ago, but it is hard when that person is the most like you of anyone you have dated. It does not help that she was an introverted, intuitive, feeling, judging personality type. They show love unlike any other. Story 106. Hit rock bottom. Reduce your responsibilities to as few as possible, focusing only on essential bills and outgoings. Create room to breathe. Pay off debts you can, responsibly push back others, and refuse new obligations. Do not force recovery. Let it happen organically. Process your life experiences until you can identify the root causes of your anxiety or hopelessness and the failures you are not forgiving yourself for. Stop being so hard on yourself. Who are you beneath everything you have to be? Find that. Free from expectations, explore your interests. You will discover opportunities no one could have recommended, and those will reveal an authentic path to financial freedom, which matters in our society. Appreciate the small wins as they build into broader success. Pay off any postponed debts and watch the life you want begin to form around you. Gradually take on more obligations and start making commitments to friends and family again. They are your most important relationships, but they can also leave you without enough to sustain a comeback or even set you back to square one. Story 107. If you are interested in animals, volunteering at an animal shelter and walking dogs is an incredible experience. Story 108. I find myself thinking about how many offers she receives from other men when I'm not with her. Story 109. Seek professional help such as therapy or medication. Stay active. Maintain social connections. Establish routines. And practice small daily habits that bring joy or purpose. Story 110. Pursue hobbies, listen to music, and write in a journal what you want to say but cannot. These activities will not completely eliminate depression, and seeing a psychologist alone may not be sufficient. Story 111. Tulpas. Some people experience multiplicity but have never considered it or even suppress it because they do not want it to be true. This can lead to mental problems they cannot explain. Imagine a second, partially formed and partly unconscious self within your mind that is suppressed most of the time but can influence your emotions when its feelings or moods bubble up. In modern society, this is still often stigmatized and considered unusual. It has been documented in other cultures and historical periods, though it may be less common. I am not claiming this is a cure-all, but it is worth considering as a possible cause or part of a solution. If you suffer from depression, it can help to listen deeply to yourself. Even without problems, meditation, self-reflection, and connecting with your unconscious and mental processes can be beneficial. If this does not help, you can see a therapist, pursue both approaches in parallel, or consider medication. Story 112. Although it does not happen to me often, when I dwell on things that are not really problems, I know I need to step back and focus on myself rather than on other people's issues. I remind myself that my perceived difficulties are not actually problems. It is just me. Story 113. Therapy and medications do not cure conditions, but they help you manage them. Story 114. Have you tried just not being sad? Jokes aside, depression is a complex condition, and everybody's path to managing it is different. Seek professional help. Story 115. I went through a period of severe depression in my 20s. I sought help from a professional, but I was paired with a therapist I did not connect with, and my psychiatrist spent about 5 minutes with me before writing a prescription. About a month later, I told him the medication was not helping. Instead of discussing options or trying something else, he doubled my dosage and left. After a few more months, I stopped all treatment and stewed in my depression for a few weeks until one day I got tired of feeling that way. I forced myself to get out of the house and start working out again. It was brutally hard at first, but it gradually got easier. After about a month of exercising, I realized I had almost completely snapped out of it. I was wrong to quit treatment out of frustration, and I was lucky that exercise and getting out of the house helped so much. Mental health treatment is a trial and error process. I should have found a new therapist at the very least, and probably a different doctor who would have listened and helped try different medications that might have worked better. If you are going through depression now, the best thing you can do is seek professional help. There is no shame in it. We all need help sometimes. Keep in mind you might not get the most effective treatment right away. It takes time and patience to find the right combination of therapy and medication. Good luck. Things can definitely get better. Story 116. It takes time and the right mindset. Don't worry about setbacks or slipping back into the cycle. It's like an addiction. It never goes away. You just have to learn to fight the downward spiral. Story 117. Apart from seeking help, you must make the decision to get out of it on your own. There are times when you absolutely need assistance, but I believe that at some point you have to do it on your own. Story 118. With depression and anxiety, you eventually hit a breaking point where you tell yourself you don't want to live like that anymore. Sometimes the right steps to change your life come easily. I've been through the ringer myself. Story 119. Cognitive behavioral therapy and eye movement desensitization and reprocessing are proven therapies for depression. Focusing on hobbies helps. Sounds cliché, but pick a hobby you enjoy and pursue it. Anytime you feel depression kicking in, buy something for your hobby. It helps me with the cars I work on. This is not financial advice. If you have an expensive hobby, be cautious. If your hobby is more affordable, focus on it. It works because it engages the brain's goal and reward system and provides natural dopamine and serotonin boosts. Story 120. It is very hard. Petting a dog or a cat helps, and so does looking at greenery. Story 121. Encourage yourself to adopt a healthy, regular routine of physical activity, spend time with supportive friends, and set clear career and personal goals. Story 122. Seek professional help and support from family and friends if possible. Eat a healthy diet and exercise regularly. Finally, take one day at a time. You may not recover from depression quickly, but you can learn to manage it. Recovery is not a straightforward path. Story 123. Do the things you know you need to do even when you have no motivation. Depression drains your energy, but deep down you know what would help. It is not easy, but overcome the urge to be miserable and take action on tasks you lack the will to do. Simple actions like going for a walk when you do not feel like it and keeping a routine will help. This will not miraculously cure your depression, but continuing to do things that benefit you in the long run, regardless of your mental state, will put you in a better place than staying in sorrow, however justified. Keep going even when you want to give up. You can do it. Story 124. Do one simple thing. Have a shower, go outside for a few minutes, or brush your teeth. Then do another simple task. Story 125. Some days you survive, some days you thrive. Both matter. Just keep taking the next step. Story 126. Therapy. But what if I cannot afford it? Find a way. I promise you, good mental health is worth it. Story 127. I was suicidal at one point in my life. What really helped me was changing my perspective and finding patterns to follow. I asked myself what happy people were doing that I was not doing. It also depends on our situation. Sometimes being in a bad environment is simply harmful. Sometimes we paint a picture of the world based on the people around us. There are bubbles, and other people in the world with different life experiences. Sometimes people move across the country and change everything about themselves. What changed me was understanding that I did not have to live the life I was living in the way I was living it. Anyone can make big changes and find a new bubble to live in or new friends. Finding a new perspective or a new avenue helps. It is like taking a vacation to feel better. On vacation, you do not feel like you have to deal with your life. Bring the idea of a vacation into your life by finding a new perspective in a similar way, whether by doing things differently, taking big risks, or trying things you would not usually do. At least that helped me. Story 128. I do not know how severe your depression is or what caused it, but aside from seeking professional help, you must not be passive. Bad things happen and we cannot change the past, but we can work to prevent a recurrence. Learn from your mistakes. Go for a walk, find a hobby, and reduce passive content consumption. Find something meaningful to work on, and if you already have one, commit to it fully. Story 129. In my opinion, depression is often related to boredom and apathy. It can create a negative feedback loop. You feel bored but do not want to do anything because nothing seems fun, so you remain bored and become more depressed. You need to force yourself to do something. Even if it does not sound fun, get up and do it. If you are asking for help, you have already passed the first step. You care enough to try to fight it. Figuring out what to do can be hard. This is where professional help comes into play. A professional can help you understand the source of your feelings and direct you toward the right path. Simply doing anything does not necessarily help. For example, you can work at your job for 12 hours a day and be doing something, but that will not cure your depression. So again, step 1 is complete, you want to fight it. Step 2 is seeking help, and a professional will point you to the next steps, because recovery is different for each person. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.